The Dollop is brought to you by Factor. Look, Gareth, are you ready to optimize your nutrition?
I am, and I have.
Factor.
You're coming at me pretty hard. You just eat Factor?
Chef-made gourmet meals make eating super easy. They're dietitian approved, which you need for sure.
I do.
They're ready to heat. You can eat them up in 2 minutes.
Yep. You can also do the oven, by the way. Always a play.
You can feel right, feel great. Doesn't matter what life throws at you. I know your life is an absolute nightmare. But this is going to help, Gareth.
It is hell.
It arrives fresh. The meals arrive fresh, fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. What you have, you never stop running because you can't deal with the things that are inside your head.
I'm an emotional shark.
Lose up to 8 pounds in 8 weeks with Factor Keto meals, which are based on randomized controlled clinical trial with Factor Keto,
but I didn't want to be rude. Keto.
And results are going to, vary based on your diet and exercise, but you get what I'm saying.
Yes.
You have tried Factor, correct? You're a Factor boy is what they call you down at the...
I'm what they call a Factor fan.
An FF?
A Factor fan.
And you've slopped it down. Is what you call it.
Don't call what I'm doing to food slopping
it down.
Factor, shut up. Factor, delicious, many options. It really fits into any diet that you have.
Correct.
And you can't stress enough how good the food is. Food is delicious.
So this is what I had this week. I had the loaded spinach shredded chicken. So good.
Now the chicken, really when you say shredded, you mean it's got abs and pecs and
the chicken.
It looks like it eats Factor. I think the chicken eats Factor. It's on the keto.
And then I also had a mushroom chicken thigh and wild rice thing, which also came with beans. I think it was beans. Yeah, so good. They're really good. They're good. We love them. We like to eat them. We like to put them on our face. I like to put them in Garrett's face.
I have never been a part of that, so I don't know who you're doing that to. But
we highly recommend you get Factor. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/dollop50 off and use code dollop50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code dollop50 off at factormeals.com/dollop50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box.
Factor.
And called it, quote, his jam pad.
Jam pad?
I'm the fucking hippo guy.
Dave, okay.
My name's Gary.
My name's Gary.
Wait.
Is it for fun?
And this is not going to become the Tiggly podcast.
Okay.
This is like anarchy.
On a 5-part coefficient.
My rules of play.
Now hit him with the puppy. You both present sick arguments.
No sleep till hippo.
No sleep till hippo.
Action partner.
Hi, Gary.
No.
Nicely done, my friend.
No.
Rotor in the corn.
Gareth, we are going to be on the road
Dave,
starting. What does that mean?
I got a lot of ideas. I know how we're going to change touring.
We are going, we're taking 2 tours this year that we have set up now, probably one later in the year. But right now we're going to be heading out in March 16th. We'll be in Tempe, Arizona. Then we go to Albuquerque, New Mexico for 2 shows. One just a regular Dollop, and then we're going to do a
Dollop Classic.
A Dollop Classic, which will be a classic episode. We're going to redo.
Neither of us will remember it.
And then we're going to be the Breakdown Comedy Club in Oklahoma City, and then we go to Tulsa, and then Dallas, and Houston, and then Austin. And then in June, we go to Sacramento Punchline on June 3rd. And then we go to Boise, Spokane, Seattle, Portland, Bend, Oregon, and San Francisco, California.
Can't wait. DollopPodcast.com.
Also, we're all up on Patreon doing Patreon stuff. If you want to enjoy free videos that we put up, and we talk about current events, and we do.
Oh yeah. We
do sketches and van life.
If you think we're depressing in our conversations on this show, go to the Patreon. We'll really make you feel bad.
It's time to get
there's
scared.
Tons of stuff. Tons of good stuff up there. Support us. People. And we're scheduling a Seagal watch. We haven't done it yet, but that's happening
we are.
Soon.
That's coming.
We have our new studio.
We got the studio set up. So June 17th, 1861.
Okay.
Louis Rogers Browning was born in Louisville, Kentucky.
That had to get confusing.
Louisville.
Come on.
We're not
I
there.
think there's some.
It's not who we are.
Could be
I
good.
wish I had a sound button. It was like a boo or a.
No,
No,
that's what
like,
you need for working with me now.
Boo.
Stop.
He had 2 brothers and 2 sisters. His dad, Samuel, was a pretty well-off lumber merchant and grocer, but then he got killed by a tornado when Louis was 13.
Well, this is before
Louis.
they knew tornadoes were bad for you.
Right, you would just run towards them.
You run towards it.
Yeah, the
Really,
tornado's here. Get outside.
It was just kind of cool to be like an extra wind on the lead up, and then
you're like, up we go!
Yay!
Yeah.
I wonder how many deaths the Wizard of Oz could take credit for.
17 million.
Just a lot of people who are just like, I want to meet flying monkeys and a good witch.
I don't know if you want to meet those monkeys after you saw the movie, though, right?
What movie were you watching?
Oh. So they were raised by their mother, Mary, in Louisville's oldest and most fashionable neighborhood. They were well off, even after Samuel died.
Did someone just throw up everything that they had?
Someone's playing video games.
Okay.
Someone made the esports team at the local high school, and in the first game match that they had, he had 116 kills and died twice. So he's apparently pretty good at video games.
Have you ever had the conversation with him about this lifestyle cannot be afforded without daddy's work?
Well, actually, esports is very lucrative if you can.
Yeah,
I don't think he's that good. He's not that good, but
yeah.
I think he'll win.
When you come in to record the podcast and this, what do you say before you go in?
I'm recording. Please be quiet.
It's interesting. Sounds like you don't have a lot of respect in that household.
Well, he gets very excited about games, and then he screams.
I think he needs Uncle Gareth to come over there and give him a little what's for.
What's for? All right,
get the guitar out. I have a way.
Okay.
Have you done birds and hold on? Have you done the birds and the bees with him?
I want you to stay away from my son.
Let me talk to him about it.
I want you to stay away from my child. I will have you arrested.
What?
I will have you arrested. I will have you arrested.
You should learn it from a man. A man who's been out there.
I'm 100% going to be. I'm taking this to the police when this
Does
podcast is over.
he even know how to make condoms funny? Come on. This is a good stuff. I'll come over there.
I taught him not to use condoms.
Let's good cop, bad cop him.
He knows not to use condoms because they're not cool.
Yeah,
he knows.
Okay. All right. Okay. As long as he gets the big lesson.
So they live in the fashionable district, like I said. They're well off. He's very close with his mom. And then when he's young, he gets an ear infection. And that turns into mastoiditis, which is a bacterial infection of the mastoid, which is like the bone in your inner ear.
Mm.
And that's bad.
Sure.
So over his life, he loses a lot of his hearing, but over his life, his hearing gets progressively worse until he can't hear at all.
Okay.
And then the symptoms are worse over his life. So there's pain and discomfort and all this shit associated with it.
Jesus.
And then also his eyes would hurt and swell up.
Jesus
and he called
Christ. There's nothing.
His whole life, he would call his eyes his lamps.
Oh my God. So there's nothing. There's obviously nothing to be done for it in this time, other than just be like a good sport. I
mean, the thing to do is to take antibiotics so that doesn't happen.
Well,
that's the thing to do.
That's what they're trying to tell you, but I think there's a lot of home stuff you can do. You ever put a knitting needle in your head? Helps.
So he started calling everyone Pete because he couldn't hear people's names.
Pete? He started to call everyone Pete?
Yeah, he'd say, hey, what's up, Pete? Like, it would just be like, what'd you say,
like
Pete?
That.
Yeah, it's not bad. But then, because he was doing that, everyone started calling him Pete. So his name essentially became Pete.
It's a very strange turn in the tale.
I mean, it's unexpected.
Well, it's strange for him to decide, like, you should call everyone fella or guy or whatever, you know what I mean? But to just be like, most people are named Pete. That's the safest route.
I mean, you had to pick a name, right? To call people, like you pick a random name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like Larry.
No.
So he's a very good athlete. He does not like school, probably because he can't hear very well, which makes school very difficult.
Yeah.
So he would hide his textbooks and play hooky a lot, get his friends to go out and play hooky with him.
Hide his textbooks? What's he hiding them from?
He would just take them and like hide it. We would just hide him in a friend's house and then go take off. And
oh, okay. Sure.
well, he didn't want his mom to see that he wasn't there.
Right.
Then they go shoot marbles or spin tops or play baseball.
Okay.
He was very good at marbles, which is eye-hand coordination stuff. He regularly won his friends' marbles.
Ugh.
And over time, he had so many marbles he could fill a trunk.
What size is the trunk? That's just, again, we're in these old-timey metrics of just...
I think that's a pretty big trunk back then.
I would think it's big too, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I tried to order like a container for the road and like a big plastic container, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck this is. You got to show me. Show me the
small.
You gotta, it's not, they need to give you scale.
Was your trunk, I'm sure they did. You just didn't look at it.
Stop they don't just say,
stop talking to me like that.
Online, why are you on the side of the trunk?
It doesn't just say plastic box.
No, it doesn't, but it's doing quarts. What's it doing courting me? Get out of here with your fucking quarts. I don't know what a quart is. How many soup cans can it hold?
Well, for you, it'd be like, how many eggs can you put in this?
Yeah, that's right. What's the egg box size? But you know me, I'm taking a real hit in the egg market right now.
I know, yeah. We're
Can't
all
be
praying
paying
for
50
you.
cents an egg. You out of your mind?
Yeah, you can. I saw, eggs are...
You know what's going to be cheaper? Hold on. What's cheaper is I found a scientist who said he can make it so Luke can produce eggs. And that guy, I'm going to try to weather the storm that way.
Well, I think we should just wrap up the podcast at this point.
You think we're good?
Yeah, I think that.
I don't know if there's enough time.
That was the final conclusion.
Ads. Okay.
No, I just think altogether the whole run.
The whole run.
Yeah,
I
think that's a good.
We just got a studio.
So after a while, no one would play marbles with him, so he'd have to go over to East St. Louis to find games.
Sure.
And now missing all the school left him somewhat illiterate. He loved all sports except for swimming, which
not a sport.
Hurt his ears, so that's why he didn't like it.
Yeah.
He really loves baseball, and he joins an amateur team called the Louisville Eclipse when he's a teenager.
Okay.
Now, Pete also starts drinking a lot as a teenager.
Good.
Because he's in pain all the time from his ears, so that's how he deals with it.
Yeah, good.
There's a story that he did you ever play keg ball in college?
In college?
Yeah, where you'd put a keg at second, and then anytime second, anytime you get to second base, you slam a beer and then keep running. You never played keg ball?
I played.
Okay, well,
would you call it keg ball?
Keg ball.
Oh no, I've never played that.
So essentially, they had what sounded like keg ball at third, and there's a story that's what made him start drinking a lot. Was one day he did that, so he just started hitting the ball as far as he could, so he could get to third and drink a beer.
Right,
but that's clearly a lie. He was doing it because of the pain, but that's like the myth.
Okay.
So he would use a lot of stuff to try to deal with the pain and the swelling from around his lamps too. Mm-hmm. So baseball fans took notice of Pete after he batted in the winning run during the amateur city championship game. And at 17, his team played against the Louisville pro team, the Grays. And Pete played great. He had a curveball and a changeup. He threw a 2-hit shutout.
Okay. Now,
Pete's childhood friend, John Recius, formed a team in 1880, and he went on that. And now Pete's becoming a bit of a star. He's known as a slugger. He's 6'10", 180 pounds, which for that time is a fucking giant.
Yeah, it's a big boy.
That's a giant.
Yeah, that's big now.
This camera always goes out of focus.
I think your camera drinks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nothing. And now I still haven't made the connection of who this is, but what year are we in now? You're
not going to know who this is.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We're in 1880 at this point.
Okay.
Ish. So he's big. Most people, the average height of that time is 5'5", and he's 6 feet 180.
God.
So he's
Can you imagine the women on Tinder, how they'd shame the men? I'm just saying, we've been through enough. Go ahead.
We have. Quote, Long and ungainly, comical in gait and action, singularly tall and slender, slightly stooped. That was the
Who
description.
wrote this? Rickles? Seems very negative.
Newspaper man.
I have, by the way, it was a better time when you could gate shame.
Oh, I gate shame all the time.
I stopped doing that. It's just you can't say that to a fella anymore.
Gate shaming is the way to go.
Hey, buddy, that gate's wide open. What are you doing? You got a penguin gate over there. Why are you walking like that? Come on. It's stuff like that that's fun. No, it's like I'm saying I'd like to do it. By the way, you got a sloppy gate. Has anyone ever told you that?
Stop it.
It's gross.
So he's ugly. He's not a good looking guy. His ears kind of point forward, which is how it was described. So he grows a big bushy mustache as a teenager.
Which was a law at the time. Yeah,
you had to. And he said that it was tied to his hitting ability.
His
like
mustache.
Samson and his hair. Yeah, right. So his mustache is...
where his strength comes from.
Yeah. So he's obsessed with, quote, lip whiskers.
Mm-hmm.
He told another player to shave his mustache to improve his hitting, and the player was like, well, you have a mustache and you don't. And Pete said, quote, Pete is blonde and you're brunette, Billy. A blonde mustache is good for the lamps and black is not. Old Pete's mustache lights up his lamps and gives Pete a good eye. But a black mustache hurts the lamps and you can't hit the ball so hard. If you had a mustache like old Pete's, you could knock the knots out of the center field fence.
Okay.
So it's science.
No, it isn't. Is there anything to what he said? First of all, the third person thing is just red flag on red flag. You can't be referring. Third personing yourself is rough.
He always did.
Is there anything to what he's saying in any way? Like, is a black mustache distracting you in some way and a blonde one's not there?
As a matter of fact, if anything, a black mustache, because people put the little black eye under their eyes
it's giving you a little sky shine.
If anything, it would do that. But no, there's nothing. It's just lip hair.
I'm very open to science, so that's why I ask.
I don't think
I'm a big science guy.
You are. So that year, a newspaper boy on the street, as he's coming out of a game, yells that President Garfield has died, right?
Right. Remember that.
And Pete asked, quote, yeah? What league was he in?
That's so strange. What is he?
Before this, the press had mostly ignored his drinking and lifestyle-ish stuff. But after that comment, now they didn't like him. And his relationship with the press changed, and he had a bullseye on his back.
That's why you got to grow a mustache.
Now, he also could barely hear. So
yeah, but he knew. Yes, you think maybe he didn't hear?
Possibly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's very
because it is a crazy follow-up to have.
It is a very crazy follow-up. What league is he in?
Yeah.
But he is outside the stadium, whatever.
Yeah, it's weird.
So questions are problematic if you can't hear well.
Sure.
But he does have no interest in current events. He doesn't give a shit. The
president being killed I'd even call that outside of the current events.
But I tell you, there's people that don't know any of this shit.
Not watching the Super Bowl, that's a fine one.
That's great. So a new baseball league starts in 1882, the American Association. So right now there's the National League, and now
so he's finally in AA.
Okay. American Association.
Okay.
It played on Sunday. We've talked about this before. It was nicknamed the Beer and Whiskey League. So it's like for the common guy. Before this, it was for,
and the Sunday is a big whoa.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that. So they started playing on Sunday. So Louisville joins that league, and Pete now becomes a pro.
Okay.
And he's getting $60 a month, which is $1,900 in our time.
Yeah, in our lives, a livable wage.
Livable wage. He's 21. Yeah, you can live like a king for $1,900.
Yeah, dude, I saw this thing. Because I always think that I'm always like, I could live on ramen, like worst case scenario. You know what I mean? I always do that. Like I could I just go back to like my 20-ish years, like where I'm like, I could do it. I saw this woman put ramen under the microscope, and oh my God.
Why? What happens under the microscope?
It's just say your tapeworms will be wanting more ramen. It's not good. It was violent what she saw, just a regular pack of ramen. Because I'm always like, they're 10 cents, or they were like back then. Now, fuck.
Okay.
Nope.
So Pete's 21. Now he's a guy, he wants to hit the ball hard and far. So he is not of the time. And honestly, that time didn't come until recently, like the past 15 years. But before that, people want to hit for average. They want to get, all kinds of hits. But he is a slugger. He's a guy that just wants to hit it as hard and far as he can.
And you like that change in baseball, for those of you new to the show.
Yes, it's my favorite thing. So a lot of sports writers start going after him for not, quote, knocking more grounders.
Imagine that error.
I know.
That's such an error of like...
So they thought that that shouldn't be the only thing you should try to do. But this made Pete a fan favorite, and he is by far the best hitter. He's hitting the highest average on the team. He's hitting .414 in July, which is, even for that time, an insane batting average.
Wow.
So that means like 40% of 41% of the time, basically, is what they're saying. The best hitters now hit like 250, or like they hit 25% of the time.
Yeah.
So and there's only been a couple of guys that have hit over 400 in this season. So during a game in August, Pete makes 3 errors, and then he makes a base running mistake, which is so bad that the opposing fans are laughing at him.
And good thing he can't hear.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
So papers blame the loss on Pete. Quote, Browning made his appearance on the ball field most palpably under the influence of liquor. His playing and conduct on the field was maudlin to the extreme.
You know what I love? I love the era where it's like, truly, you're just like, this guy could just stay sober. The upside is huge. Like, there's a lot of like, you got to coach him up. But imagine like drafting a player and just being like, we can get him to stop drinking. This guy could be unreal.
Yeah. So it's pretty obvious he's drinking a lot now. People are picking up on it. So some writers are saying, for the sake of his life, he should be sent to another team who will crack down on this if Louisville's not gonna get this guy in shape. Tim Newby, who from his book, The Original Louisville Slugger, quote, Pete attributed much of his success at the plate during the 1882 season to chewing gum.
Interesting.
Many players were known to place a piece of gum on their hats for good luck. But Pete, who always did things his own way, plastered it in his eyebrows.
Huh? No. You're not allowed to talk like that to me. Not on this. Not on any show. What are you talking about? He put chewing gum on his eye.
In his eyebrows.
There's some guy with no mustache who's like, I should probably stop listening to this guy. I should grow whatever the fuck I want. Blonde what is he doing? Like, what? He was putting chewing gum on his eyebrows?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say he was chewing it, and that was like the revolution.
No,
but
he was
taking the gum and putting it in his eyebrows.
That's correct.
I think this guy is troubled. This is the worst thing I've heard about him.
He's leading the league in hitting. He hits 378. 378.
Someone has to step in. It's not because
whatever
of that.
You want, all over your face. If you're hitting 378, whatever you want.
All right, let me put on my gum mask. Pete, are you sure? It's very strange.
But near the end of the season, he does get suspended for an assortment of things, mostly drinking related. The team suspends him. They're like, okay, you're a fucking mess. So the next season, they re-sign him for $200. So he has to play I think he has to play for the same team at this point. But you're negotiating with the same team every year.
And they'll just meet you?
Yeah, so every year it's a different contract. It's not like multi-year contracts. So he now signs for $200 a month because he's a great hitter.
There has to be someone who's like, please stop doing the gum eyebrow thing too. I think that's not. So we're going to give you the 200, and just if you can remove
the thing about the gum on the face, we would just like that to not to happen.
Well, here's what I'm thinking. First of all, I am going to push back. I think the idea. Hold on. I think the idea is that it's very helpful to put all the gum in my eyebrows. So I think I have to keep doing it.
Well, it's
and if anything, I was going to suggest that I put it in my mustache too. I think if I could just kind of tie the look together a little bit and be like a gum face.
Isn't that your hitting mustache though?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a risk. There's no doubt it's a risk. But I think the upside is more power. The downside is I might slump. And if I got to reevaluate, I'm just saying I need the gum freedom to kind of find myself.
Well, okay, we would just like to say we would like it if you didn't. So,
well, I think until we try out the gum stash, we're not going to know. And the eyebrows are like, I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not going to take the gum out of my eyebrows. It looks good and everybody is really loving it. And it really helps with the game. There's a reason why all the kids are doing it.
Well, that's one of the reasons we want you to stop.
Well, I think it's a movement, and
a lot of kids are putting gum in their hair. All their hair.
No, the goal should be to be as gummed as we can be.
Okay, maybe you should play for another team.
I agree. We're not kind of seeing eye to eye, and I don't think it's because you're distracted with what's above.
Well, it's more eye to gum, honestly, because I can't take my eyes off the gum.
I think it's brow to eye.
Right now, it's the off season, and you came to the meeting with gum all over your face.
This is the most important time to put the gum on your face. This is what you train for. What are you talking about? This is the time when you figure out what your gum limits are. I'm not. I'm working here. You think I want to walk around in a gum mask?
All right. Thanks for coming in, Pete.
Thank you for having me. And by the by,
leave the gum. Leave the gum.
I haven't heard anything you've said. How about that?
Gum out of the bowl. Put the gum back.
I can't hear him.
So that season, he's tearing it up at the plate again. Local papers begin noting that the whole team seems to be drinking a lot. Like this is a team of really drinkers.
This happens in sports.
And one paper wrote, quote, "A 9 cannot play ball if over one half the players are full of beer and the rest have to do all the playing."
But that's the attitude that makes them overcoming this problem that is normal so gratifying.
Yes. So everyone knows that Pete is now playing Plowed a lot of the time, and the papers start calling him out by name. And the players start getting fined for drunkenness. Pete, however, is the only one who can just play hammered.
Wow.
Fine. It's not uncommon for players to drink a lot back then.
Right.
That season, a player on the team had a stroke, and then a bunch of players got hurt. Now, they're probably getting hurt because they're playing drunk.
Yeah, they're dehydrated as shit.
So they had to end one game in the middle of the season because the catcher got hurt and they didn't have enough players. So they had to forfeit the game. So the team's a nightmare. But Pete ends up being the second best hitter at the end of the season in the league.
It's just such a funny, it is such a funny hurdle. If we could just get these guys to stay sober for their jobs. Upside's huge here.
Pete is very into baseball bats. So this is a time when a player would just, if his bat cracked, he would just nail it back together.
Absolutely. And for those of us who didn't know that was a time that existed, it's pretty earth-shattering information to know that there was a time when players would just nail their bat. You got the bat boy and you got the nail kid. All right? Now, you might need to use them both. Who knows?
But Pete was a weirdo because he took care of his bats. Other players thought he was the best judge of bats in the country. Like he could see a bat and be like, "That's a good bat for you," which is true. Everybody has
This is the mustache guy.
No, but you like a different weight, and also some guys like the bat to be heavy on the end, some a little further down. Like it's a legitimate thing.
Take that big one there, put a little gum up your ass, and try to chew it while pitching.
Yeah, put gum up your ass.
Try to pitch with the bat.
Hey, Frankie, did you listen to Pete and put gum up your ass? Because that's crazy.
Yeah,
he's fucking with you.
Up there. I put a bunch of
He's fucking with you, Pete.
No, he's trying to help me. I put a lot of gum up there.
How much?
I put an endless amount. You know, I'm starting to taste it a little bit. I put.
All right, we gotta go to the doctor.
Well, no.
That's bad.
That's the guy who's gonna try to. No, that's the guy who's gonna try to gum you. If I get enough up there, they're saying I could make the Hall of Fame. Chewing gets harder. But by the way, you want to see a guy blow a bubble through his asshole?
No. Okay. Bye, Frankie. Goodbye.
Hold on. Wait,
no,
don't say goodbye.
I gotta go. I came to help you. I can't help you.
Oh man, I'm so sick from something. Something is wrong. I haven't been able to tell anyone, but I think I got a disease. Totally.
You got gum up your ass.
Stop it.
Do you?
What? Have gum up? Yes, I just told you.
Yeah.
It's like
okay. Well,
like
that's what we're talking about. That's why you don't feel good.
Train up there.
Yeah, that's why you don't feel good, kid.
It's just so hard to know what to do. We're in that weird area of time where it's gray. Should you be going to doctors, or are they just quacks looking out for their own benefit? Should you be putting like 50 to 60 pieces of gum up your ass and trying to chew it? What's the line here? Should my mustache be black? Should my eyes be gum?
Well, that concludes our hearing with RFK Jr. We want to thank you for stopping by.
I'm dating a ferret.
So, where was I? Right. So the bats. So he's a really good judge of bats. He has an enormous collection of bats. During a game, he cracked his favorite bat and felt like he, quote, had lost one of his best friends.
All right. Strange. I know you're kind of defending his skill, but this is,
But baseball players are very superstitious. And he's really superstitious.
I know. It's a lot of this is, you could be like, just to remind you, he's drunk.
He goes to a woodmaker in town, Hillerick and Bradsby, and he demands they duplicate it. So there's a 17-year-old kid, Bud Hillerick, and he makes a new bat that's identical in every way. And this is the first bat ever made to specifications. And the company would make the Louisville Slugger, which was named after Pete Browning.
Wow, that's crazy.
And then
that's one of those things. Those of us who don't know where their story is at, we listen to that and we go, "Now that's something. That's something I can share at a party." That's crazy though. So they would just be like, "Here's this bat."
Yeah, they weren't even like a bat. It wasn't like a bat making place. It was just a woodmaker, and the guy was like, "Yeah, I got a lathe. I can do that." And he made the same bat, and then now everyone's going to them for bats. All the Louisville players are like, and then it takes off, right?
Wow.
So they become the biggest bat company in the world, and stay that way forever. They're still a giant bat company. So to get his bats ready for the season, he would soak them in water. So this is the off season. He soaks them in water, and then he oils them up, and then he rubs them with tobacco juice.
Yes, every step of that is fine.
Yes.
Some of us have the gut instinct to be like, well, what? But move through it because this guy's,
makes sense.
He's throwing a little tobacco on the tobacco juice. You said,
yeah, tobacco juice. So he's spitting on it.
It's the spit. Yeah, exactly.
He's spitting on it.
Absolutely, just make sure that we're all on the same page.
And this is the thing he starts that also becomes a massive trend.
Of course.
Ty Cobb, all players did it forever.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something that you gotta, it's a trend. That's what I was going to say is definitely, you want your gum eyebrows and just be fucking hawking on your bat as much as possible.
Pete also named his bats after biblical figures.
We've all done that.
When he stopped hitting well with a bat, he retired it to his mom's home, which also was his home. He still lived at home with his mom.
Okay.
And so he put him in the basement. That you'd be done as a bat.
Right.
So the next season, Louisville started very strong, but in May, Pete was having headaches and vertigo. So he finally agrees to have surgery on his his ear problem. So this involves draining fluid from the ear. So he gets back a week later. Pain's gone.
A
week later, he's playing again.
You ready to play? Now that we've
removed the taking a big drill and the water leaks out, and they go, "All right, get out there."
There's just gum coming out of it. Jesus, Pete. A lot of gum in here, buddy boy.
Well, he's pain-free.
Wow.
It's the first time since childhood that he's pain-free. So that means he drinks less and hits the fucking shit out of the ball.
Okay.
But
can you imagine a guy being on IR because of his ear? Just like every other injury, he's like, his wrist is hurt, his legs hurt. Pete's obviously waiting to come back. Ear.
So the team is good, but they slip out of first place, and the team overtakes them. They get really frustrated. They start arguing. Pete gets into a fight with another player, and then reporters start attacking the team. And they really went after Pete, attacking Pete for his defense, which is crazy because he's one of the best hitters around.
Right, you take the upside,
and it's crazy that they would do that. But again, it goes back to the Garfield thing and the drinking thing. They just don't like him. Because his defense isn't that bad. Like statistically,
he probably
it's
read
not that bad.
Like someone was probably like, if they hate you because of the Garfield thing, like the what? The president got shot.
Oh fuck! I thought you guys were talking about the cat.
I thought it was where we parked, the car field. We don't have cars now. Blah, blah, blah. Shut up. Yes, we do. I know a guy who has 2 cars. God almighty. This whole thing of there weren't cars yet. It's just what a critic says. Those who can't cars can make fun of those of us who think cars might be around. It's the expression. It's a bumper sticker I saw. That's a thing you put on a car.
So after the surgery, he is worse at defense, but that's because the surgery made his hearing worse. So he's in less pain, but his hearing is worse.
Okay.
So he really can't hear his teammates, which you need to do in the infield. And he's just like not catching pop-ups and like, it's bad. So they move him to center field where he doesn't have to talk to anybody.
Nice.
And he finishes 3rd in hitting that year, hitting .336. The team finished in 2nd. Like a week later, he gets arrested for drunk on public.
Sure.
Now, Pete also cared for his lamps a lot. Trying to stop the eye pain and the swelling. Quote,
his lamps?
His eyes, his lamps.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I mean, I remember that fact, but I really was like, this guy has some attachment issues.
Quote, you can't line one out unless you got good peepers. Old Pete knows that, and he takes good care of them. He never washes them with soap and water. It won't do. It will ruin the best lamps in the world. Pete closes them up when he is washing. Then he waits until about 10 o'clock when he goes out in the streets and looks right up in the sun 2 or 3 times. That opens him up good, and then he can line them out.
There is so much wrong about that.
He is...
Who the fuck did he... Who was the person who was like, nah, Pete, you got to wash your eyeballs with soap and water. That's crazy. Your instinct is to close them. I love how he thinks that's unique. And then he's going out there and he's like, now to damage my corneas on my daily routine.
Yeah, he's like he thinks everyone else washes their eyes with their eyes open with soap and water.
Well, that's the problem with like talking in the third person. It's like a hard conversation to have because you're just fixated on the fact that this guy thinks he's someone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, old Pete doesn't put tobacco juice in his eyes. That would be strange.
Yeah,
I'm a bit of a weirdo. I'm an outlier like that. I also won't wash my eyeballs with soap and water.
You went right to eye instead of you were doing third person. You went right to eye.
No, I was saying eyes, not eyes. Eyes. Hey, listen, old Pete, would you? Good Lord, you people. You just don't get it.
Pete drank 2 glasses of buttermilk at bedtime, which he called the nerve steadier.
Okay. See, it's just, I'm not saying all the solutions are going to come from doctors, but just having one around just for like catch-ups every now and then would be good.
Well, this one, so buttermilk has lutein in it, which is an antioxidant, which helps eyes, helps improve eye function, and does literally help eyes. So that may be why, but that doesn't explain why he bathed his eyes in buttermilk in the morning.
Like as roommate wise, this is just his mom was probably like, Pete, have you seen my buttermilk?
Like
you're supposed to drink over all the bats.
You're supposed to drink milk for that effect, buttermilk, but not bathe your eyes in it.
All right.
When it rained, Pete would go outside and look up into the sky to rinse out his eyes.
This is your eyes are self-lubricating pieces of your head. They're doing their own thing. And sure, every now and then you might need a little Visine or whatever, but it's just.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
He drank 2 spoonfuls of Worcestershire sauce at dinner.
Oh, geez, that is a horrible thing to do shots of.
And he ate Tabasco sauce with mustard and ginger.
Okay, now he's Luke. So this is not...
But you get what he's doing, right? It's making his eyes water.
But again, we're like, okay, now I do, but still, no. There's
What
other,
about
your
this?
eyes are got this. No,
What about this?
no. I'm already saying no.
When they were on the train going to somewhere, he would stick his head out the window to catch the ashes in his eyes.
What are you talking about? The players smoking ashes?
No, from the
What does
train.
he think that?
The train engine.
What does he think? What does he? What?
Well, you want to know why?
Yeah.
Quote, clinkers are good for the peepers. Let a big one blow in your lampteens and it will clean them out so you can drive a phony pitcher to drink.
We are
Bam.
fully now in another language. This is now no longer understandable to those of us who thought English would suffice. Let a clinker?
Yeah, big fucking ash.
Big piece
guy.
of ash go in your eye?
Yeah, right in the eye.
Nope.
And then it's good for the peepers.
No, it isn't. And then buttermilk. I mean, like if at any point he were to see an eye doctor, they'd be like, Jesus Christ, Pete.
What are you doing?
Blink. I don't blink during the day. I just put buttermilk inside of each one of my eyeballs.
Well, that
That's
explains
right.
the white gunk in the corners of your eye. But then you got like, have you been putting
When you got white
cigarettes
gunk,
in your
you
eye?
got to light a little bit of a fire inside your eyeballs. That's why I put cigars out on them.
Oh, Pete
knows what he's doing.
No, sir.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it's good to put a tooth inside of one of your eyes. Just ask old Pete about something like that.
Peter?
You want to take small splinters and try to blink them through. Keeps the eyes doing the gymnastic. That's a Pete quote. Put it in your Bible. Your Bible. I pronounce it Bible. That's an old quote by old Pete. That's right. If you get a bat that don't work, don't be afraid to try to blink it through your own head. That's a Pete. You ever chewed gum with your eyes? Give it a shot. Pete said to. Mm-hmm. That's right. Pete, hold on, shut up. Pete don't drink with his mouth. Pete uses eye holes. I'll pour a little bit of whiskey down there. That's the best way to digest it. You're good to drive after that in a car.
Pete believes smoking made his eyes better. Quote, there is nothing like the smoke of a cigarette to put the eyes in trim to solve a twisting, sizzling curve.
This is what I don't understand, okay? It is not at any point he must be talking about the long-term benefits, because when I used to paint houses, okay, so then it's totally
he would walk to games smoking and blowing the cigarette into his eyes.
Yeah, see, when I used to paint and I would be on a ladder, one of the hardest parts was trying to smoke while painting, because the smoke would go in your eye and your eyes would burn. You couldn't do it. Well,
then they water, and then you're like, oh, my eyes are getting better.
No, I would be like, oh, I can't do this. I have to take breaks.
And that's why you didn't play professional baseball, dummy.
No, first of all, the attitude.
Yeah. He convinced a teammate, John Riley, to take up smoking. But Riley eventually stopped when his hitting didn't improve, and Pete said that was because he didn't believe in the smoke.
Man,
so it's
we're
like
entering
Jesus.
Some Rogan level theories here.
So it's like Christ. That's what we're talking about.
Everything that is. I also do love people who think that everything you do should work for them.
Yeah,
like and you're always like, I'm actually good. It's like, what are you talking about? Put some cantaloupe in your nose. You'd be happy.
The next season, the team went back to drinking. So they had that one season off where they played well and came in second, but now they're back to their partying ways.
That coach was like, all right, there's one reason why we lost last year, and it's fun. Drinking is what we need to do harder and better than ever before.
Gareth, one game they committed 17 errors.
That's a lot. That's mostly errors.
That's
shit-faced ball is what that is.
A paper reported they were playing poker and drinking till sunrise. They were getting into fights with people. It's the 1983 season all over again. Pete's hitting is the only good thing happening. He was using enormous bats, 37 inches and 46 ounces.
I mean, is that at some point do they have to be like, you can't use like a cricket-sized bat out here?
No, there's no rules. You can still use any size bat
whatever.
you want.
So you could just go out there with a tree.
I mean, yes and no. There's probably a specification on the shape of the bat, but I think in major leagues you can use any bat you want, any size bat you want.
Yeah, Pete's stepping up to the plate. He's loving his new paddle bat.
But the thing is like
most of the catcher and the strike zone.
I think most players couldn't swing a bat that size now. But
you could just bunt endlessly.
Yeah, very few players could actually swing a bat that big. Like Pete,
it looks like what they use to take pizzas out of the oven. He steps up here.
Babe Ruth had an enormous bat too, like legendary huge bat.
I pissed next to him once, and boy, ain't that the truth? Good Lord.
But now think about this. So he has a 46-ounce bat, but he's also soaking it.
Yes.
In water to make it heavier.
Yes. So it's really.
So that year he wins his second batting title in 4 years. He hit 362. Gareth,
what a great show we're in the middle of.
Yeah, Gareth, we are brought to you by Hims. So some people are looking for a little boost in the bedroom, especially Gareth Reynolds.
That's right.
Hims is going to help you with personalized ED treatment options that are all online. You don't have to go see some weirdo face to face.
No.
Look, if your car breaks down, you take it to the mechanic, right?
Yep.
You need it. You just do it. So this is kind of like that. It's something a lot of guys can't fix on their own. Yeah, little Winky's not.
Take the help.
Little Winky is not winking.
Let Winky work.
Let Winky work.
Well, he might be winking, but he's not. He's
stinking.
Not a full body. Oh my God.
So this is the way I mentioned think about ED, just like you would with a mechanic in a car. Look, you need a little help, Joe. There's no reason to just sit there and be all upset and labor in it. And, thankfully they got Hims out there so you can get so you can get access to personalized ED treatment without stepping outside your door right there in your house. It's changing men's health care. Provides you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch or your bed or even your floor.
Hammock.
Wherever you are at the moment. Your hammock.
I have a tree house where I live.
Yeah, so you just go and answer some questions on the site. Yeah. Well, that's weird. So you just answer some questions on the site and a medical provider determines the right treatment option. And then if prescribed, the shipment, it's just mailed to you directly for free. It comes like camouflaged. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't need insurance. One low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. We recommend it. Gareth especially recommends it. Start your free visit online today. So that's wrong. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/dollop. That's HIMS.com/dollop for your free personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/dollop. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See the website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. And Gareth, the Dollop, are brought to you by Nutrafol. The hair can be a thing. Guys, you get old, you start losing your hair. Some guys, you're younger, you start losing it. It start coming out. Nobody needs that.
No, nope.
It's not great.
Get ahead of it too.
So thinning or whatever, whatever's going on, you want to get ahead of it. Also, I started using Nutrafol, and my hair looks thicker. It looks fuller. Many people comment.
I don't know why you've given it the clown color, but it is thicker. But then you sort of decided to.
Well, it helps with it helps. It makes it look. I want it to pop.
It pops.
So my hairdresser noticed it. My friend Josh, my friend Gareth, my wife, my son, the dogs. The dogs started licking my hair. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on here. But what we're saying is that hair thinning is very common. It can be a very, very frustrating problem. A lot of guys have to deal with it. It can be stress or nutrition, hormones, lifestyle. There's a lot of factors. And now Nutrafol can help you. That's what we're saying.
Yes. Nutrafol
is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand trusted by over 1.5 million people. In just 3 to 6 months, go from a hat guy to a hair guy with thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are physician formulated using 100% drug-free ingredients. Their patented technology provides consistent, reliable results. Men also reported no promise in sexual performance. So start your hair journey with So start your hair growth journey with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com/men and enter the promo code Dollop, the Dollop. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com/men, spelled Nutrafol.com/men, promo code the Dollop. That's Nutrafol.com/men, promo code the Dollop.
Yeah.
Hair journey.
Yeah.
Now, in the offseason, he is arrested for being in, quote, a state of wild and disorderly intoxication.
Okay. So aggressive.
After being arrested, he sat down and wept. And then this drew a big crowd around him.
He
and
did
then
it publicly? Everyone
yeah,
was
right in the
gathered
street.
around.
Yeah. And then they took him to the police station and he, quote, wept himself sober.
It's just not good. It's not good that he's trying to do that. It's also bad to have people be like, that's how he cried it out. You know, I should be good to drive. Let me just go have a curbside weep.
He skipped court the next day saying he was tired.
But I have always said that should be a valid reason.
And then the judge just let him off because the judge was like, I love watching you play. Like literally, he said he got a lot of joy from watching him so he can go free.
This is how the system works.
It is how the system works, actually. But Pete is now drunk in public regularly and people can't ignore it anymore. And everyone's begging him to stop. He's also known to enjoy brothels.
Sure. And
someone starts calling him the Gladiator because of his combative personality when he's drunk, and also because he's standoff with the press. And so they start calling him the Gladiator.
Okay.
Pete never slides, by the way.
It's an interesting... That tracks.
So if you don't know what that is, it's when you're running to a base and you, instead of just running to it, you slide into it.
Yeah,
it's illegal, but not illegal. But you get called out in, like, if my son didn't, in a lot of leagues, if you just run to the base and don't slide, they'll call you out because it's dangerous for like 12-year-olds to do it. And in my kids' age, they'll just call you out because you're not supposed to do it. So they'll just go, yeah, you're fucking out. You slide. It's baseball. So it's dangerous to not slide.
He's
it's
also
crazy.
Big.
He's big. He's a big guy.
It is like a tree running at you.
So he said he didn't slide for a fear of injury. Quote, if I should attempt to slide into a base, my legs would drop off.
Well, I guess if it's founded on medical science,
I'm sure a doctor explained that to him.
So listen, Pete, sliding is out of the question for you.
Yeah,
everything you're doing right now medically, we're clearing you. We're loving the ashy eyes. We're thinking the gum eyebrows is just working great for you.
Yeah.
Your level of drinking is phenomenal.
Good. Thank you.
No notes there.
I'm trying.
The only issue is your legs are they're attached. Don't get us wrong.
Yeah.
But you're one slide away or a couple slides away from potentially your legs. I'm trying to think of how to put this medically. Well, they could fall off. I've seen it happen to a lot of baseball players. Your legs could slide. Your legs could slide, and then next thing you know, you get up at second. You're considered safe, and nobody knows where your legs are. Maybe a sandworm ate them, or who knows? I mean, there's just a ton of rational reasons why you shouldn't be sliding.
Doctor,
yes,
I do not want that to happen.
No, and that's why we're glad you came in. So just run everywhere. Never slide.
Yeah. Okay.
I would also recommend sleeping up like a horse. You just don't want to give your legs a reason to drop off.
Sure.
Which they will very likely do if you're not careful.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, this is just sort of, again, 10 years ago, people would have said, slide, your legs will stay on. But we've made some real big advancements in the last decade.
All right, well, as payment, I'm going to hit you with this bat.
Oh, great. Yeah, give me that twice, too, because this was a long visit. There is one. That's nice.
Now, there was another reason Pete didn't slide. Quote, there is no use soiling your clothes and increasing your laundry bills when you don't have to.
The fact that this guy's blinking ash and saying that laundry is a kind of a flag for him.
A lot of people thought he could be the best base runner in America if he would just slide.
Mm-hmm.
At the start of the 1886 season, right after a win, he celebrated by drinking, quote, unknown quantities of intoxicants after the game and at night spreading the terror throughout the city.
Is he Godzilla? Unknown quantities. Oh, man.
So the manager heard he was out. He was whooping. He kept whooping and everyone could hear him. And the manager followed the whoops and found where he was and find him on the spot $25 for.
Wow.
Yeah.
For whooping, for public whooping.
Now, Pete did not come to the game the next day.
Well, he's tired.
Well, he did come, but he wasn't on the field. He was in the stands crying.
That's boy, this is tough. There's some obviously arrested development in some of this, but it's strange for you to be like, God damn it, where is he? Like, hey, Skip, I don't want to freak you out, but I do think Pete's here. Well, get him suited up. Let's go. I think he's actually watching the game. What? But he's crying his face off up there.
Now, papers also started saying he couldn't write. So Pete sent his autograph to the Courier Journal as like a retort. Unfortunately, it was barely legible, and they printed it in an article titled "Browning Can Write." And then this did more harm than good because his first and last names were misspelled.
Well, it's not great.
It's not great.
It's also really like shitty to be publicly like, he can't read or write.
Yeah. Especially at this time.
But then it's also a crazy move to just be like, yeah, I can write. Look at my signature. Well, game over. Look at that thing. That's 2 words.
But his illiteracy is overblown. According to the 1900 census, it said he could read and write. And also stories through his life validated that he could read and write. And
how's
years later,
how's the census
I think you did mark like illiterate or something like. I think that they did.
He probably couldn't read what he was marking.
Maybe. Years later, Cincinnati Enquirer said he read a paper every day, no matter what town he was in. So that's another thing that got blown up that wasn't true.
Okay.
So midway through the season, he was leading the league in hitting, but the papers were attacking his defense. He's really drunk some games, but at one point he had a 24-game hitting streak. Pete said it ended because he lost the loaded die that he kept in his hip pocket.
What?
A loaded die, I think, is a die pair of dice you cheat with.
What was he? He's cheating.
So I think a loaded die is a cheat. So it's a superstitious thing.
So
he keeps a die in his pocket.
Sure.
But drunk Pete kept making horrible errors, so the team suspends him for a month. The Sporting News, quote, "It is plainly evident to everybody here, apart from his disposition to drink hard, Brownie is physically unable to play ball." So they either sent him or he goes on his own to a resort to sober up. A reporter said
a great term. Welcome to Sobriety Island. Could you like a Mai Tai, my friend? Oh, you're going to love it out here.
A reporter said he went there and that Pete had a hard time drinking water because he wasn't used to it. And they had a picture of a distillery hanging in his room to make him feel better.
That is a wild call. Oh, my God. And here you are, Pete. We're going to move on to a new life with no alcohol. And just so you understand how important that is, where's a picture of you getting shit-faced in a vat that doesn't exist? There you are. So we want to get you off of hard-ons. Here's some porn.
It's really, yeah. So Pete comes back to the team and said he was, quote, new as a schoolboy. And he's playing great.
Okay.
Comes back playing great, but he's also drinking. Pete's drinking again.
Good.
There were a string of nights of just drinking in town, and the team finishes 4th. So Pete's 3rd in hitting this year. So he's still drunk, one of the best fucking hitters in baseball.
But he is finally sliding.
He's 26. He's getting more.
It's so funny when you're me listening to these stories. You really are going 41, and you're like, he was 9 years old.
He's getting more irritable, which is common with mastoiditis. So the next season, more of the same, up and down performances. At one point, the police were called because he was drunk on a streetcar, demanding to pay a fare with a check.
I've done that though.
The Courier Journal nicknamed him Pete Brown Jug Browning.
Because he's just fucking pounding whiskey.
But then he started playing so well that they changed it to the Old Warhorse.
Oh my God. Quit. Just let him live. Stop trying to label everything.
Oh, shit. In August, he was drinking so much that he fell down twice during a game.
Well, that slide. Call it a slide.
Slide in the outfield. He was in the outfield. So you slide. I slid.
I was trying to as a defensive maneuver to get out of the way.
The worse the team did, the more that Pete drank. And for the last away games, he goes on a bender and he just disappears. He doesn't go to like 2 games. No one knows where he is. And then he misses the team, whatever it is, bus, ride home, the train, whatever. He misses it. He doesn't go back with them. They don't know where he is. And then he shows up for the last home game of the season, and the crowd jeers and hisses him. And then afterwards, he hits every saloon on the main drag in town. By 9 p.m., he was seen holding his bat and weeping on the street.
Jesus Christ.
Because he had hit .402 that season and lost the batting title to a Canadian.
That's why he's weeping?
Yeah, because he lost the batting title. That's why he's weeping. But he hit .402 and lost to a Canadian. What the fuck is that?
I'm also a little worried about the level of crying from an adult man.
It's not great.
It's a bit troubling.
Yeah.
So, you see, Pete, the reason why you're weeping so much is because you've got ash in your eyes. It's all the stuff you've been putting in your lamps.
And buttermilk.
Buttermilk and ash is not a great thing for lamps.
So a couple days later, a very drunk Pete is on the street and he asks the cops for protection because he says the Canadian guy is following him with a knife and wants to kill him.
This is getting strange now.
2 days later, he paid his season bar tabs. Okay. Which are at bars all over town. $255, which is $9,500 today.
It's just quite a tab.
And after paying it, he swears off booze forever. He's like, that is it.
Okay.
This is crazy. The Louisville commercial paper, quote, Pete will either have to play ball or drink whiskey next year. He cannot do both.
Okay.
The team said next season, his first drinking offense would get him suspended for the season. And Pete said, quote, I can't hit the ball until I hit the bottle.
Oh, Jesus Christ. It's just...
He ran for councilman and for some reason lost.
You see this in comics sometimes where it's like, I can't go on stage unless I have a buzz going.
Yeah.
Like using your occupation as a drink crutch.
It's now obvious he was holding out every year till the last minute to sign with the team because he was avoiding preseason conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
Pete, quote, I won't sign because I don't want to be converted into a racehorse and made to run 5 or 6 miles a day around the racetrack. So he just doesn't want to work out.
Yeah, well, it's like that. You're an athlete.
Yeah,
Right.
The players get new rules. They have to be in bed at 11:30 p.m. and no drinking.
Those rules seem very standard now.
Pete, very sober for April. So sober that everybody nicknamed him Prohibition Pete.
It's maybe time to stop nicknaming everything.
The nicknames
Not everything
don't help.
has to be a phase.
Yeah, it's all just fucking with somebody, right?
And then he fell apart in May. Old Petey Problems is back. But then he found it. Then he got himself a dog, and that seemed to help. Old Petey Pets, right over there.
He's not hitting well, right? That's what he said. He's sober. Right. It's probably in his head. A big part of hitting is just the pure confidence of thinking.
Well, that's
you're
why
we
call him Petey Psyche. Yeah, because he's got a bit of an issue.
Petey Psyche.
Petey Psyche.
So he's not hitting good. And reporters asked if that's because he's not drinking. The same people that were like, you got to stop drinking. This guy can't. Right. And then they're like, wow, why don't you have a nip?
Yeah.
So then the team gets sold. And the previous owner, so all those guys that he played marbles, the guys that he played hooky with, a bunch of them go into baseball. There's a guy on the team that was one of his good friends when he was a kid.
Okay.
And then other guys go on to own teams and manage and stuff. So the guy who owned the team was one of his friends. So he's gone now. And the new owner comes in. And in Kansas City, Pete gets really shit-faced and decides to go fishing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So he gets his gear, right, puts on his fishing gear, and then he passes out in the hotel doorway.
Oh, PD passouts.
And a reporter exaggerated what happened and said Pete had gone fishing in the hotel rain gutter.
Well, there's a big difference. There's a big difference. There's a big difference between the two. There's a big difference. By the way, imagine how great would that be? I think I caught one.
I got it. What's
There you
this?
go.
What's this?
Yeah,
What's this? Fish?
I think it's a trout. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a leaf.
it's a leaf. Yeah. Oh, it is a leaf. Sorry, I'm not very good at this.
So this Porter exaggerates this, and then all these other papers start picking it up. Like now he's a big joke around the country, not just in Louisville. Kids start making fun of him. In June, though, he starts hitting again. In July, he misses a game because he's
Drunk.
out drinking. And then a little while later, he gets injured, and then being injured causes him to drink more. And then he gets arrested for being drunk, but he says it's because it's just the medicine from his injury.
It's just the medicine from his injury?
Yeah, the medicine is making him act like that, not the.
Oh, medicine. Okay.
So now he hears that the team is not going to take him. He's bottoming out. So they're like, they're not going to take him on the next road trip. They're like, we can't manage this.
Right.
So he asks for a meeting with the manager and the owner, and Pete shows up to the meeting with 2 black eyes.
Would you want to see me skip?
He said he fell down.
Yeah, we've all done that. Nose first.
What's worse?
I'm also picturing the gum eyebrows still.
What's worse, getting into a fist fight or falling face down and getting 2 black eyes?
Oof. I think fist.
Yeah,
by a hair.
So the team goes on the road trip without him.
He's on the bus weeping.
My wife's going to talk to her later. And then when they leave without him, Pete says he's the saddest man in Louisville.
Oh, that's tough.
So 2 days later, Pete gets drunk and gets on a streetcar and sits down by a councilman. This is a guy who doesn't know it all. And he takes the cigar out of the councilman's mouth and throws it down and takes his own cigar and puts it in the councilman's mouth.
But that's funny. That's a funny thing to do. I guess if you're not drunk, it's not cool. But when you're drunk, it's a very funny thing to do to someone.
And the councilman is a non-drinker, so Pete forces him out of the streetcar and into a saloon and makes him drink all night.
Sounds like the councilman might have been a drinker.
So now,
Petey pressure.
For some reason, Pete's friends are getting worried about him.
What do you think it is?
I don't know. Maybe the buttermilk?
Yeah.
The Courier Journal quote, many think that sorrow is causing him to lose his mind.
Oh, stop. Now
for not playing on the team. That's what they're saying. After all this, the fucking, yeah, you take him on the road trip.
Yeah, stop diagnosing him.
So his team sucks without him, which is what he said was going to happen. When they said he can't go, he's like, you guys are going to suck. But they do. They really suck without him. But they come back and they hear what's happened with the councilman, and they're like, yeah, no. And they just suspend him for the rest of the year. They're like, we're done.
Okay.
So now there's a lot of people are like, they're going to trade him to another team. And they keep seeing him in the stands crying or just being sad.
It's so weird to be showing up to these. It's just like you don't go to your ex's wedding and have a weep in the crowd. You know what I mean? Like you got to move on to some extent.
Then he goes to talk to the new owner, and the new owner's like, okay, you can play if stop drinking.
If I only drink.
Stop drinking.
If I drink more.
Stop. If you stop drinking. No drinking.
I'll fill my bat with whiskey and drink out of it before I hit.
If you stop drinking.
I'll wear a whiskey outfit and pretend I'm a bottle for punching it.
No, so no drinking at all.
Right, until I'm batting or until the game starts. Drink on. So, all right, we're meeting somewhere good now. I think we're getting through this communication-wise. I will drink for games exclusively and only after the game. And then in between days of games, let's just revisit it when we get there and see how the hits are going. The streak is going of hitting.
Yeah, so we're not going to do that, yeah.
Well, I think we got a good understanding, and let's celebrate the deal with a bit of whiskey, but then we'll say that that's only for signings, for hittings, for days in betweens, and if you catch the ball. Plus, I need 5 days off to weep at the games where I won't be participating every year. But I think that's good for us. So we'll do a weep. Let's get our hands in. Petey Palms. Come on, let's get our hands in. Go, Petey. I got to be honest. I don't remember the beginning of this interaction, so I'm a little lost as to where it is. But the energy's right on time and good. All right.
So he also said, besides not drinking, a doctor would have to give him approval to play.
Okay.
So,
but just so you know, Dave, this story is crazy.
What do you think is going to happen?
I think he's going to drink.
A doctor gets him. His doctor's like, yeah, I'll go tell the owner you can play. Of course.
Yeah, he's in tip-top shape. Pete's never been better.
So the doctor goes, you can go play. And now the new season coming, the new owner has very contentious negotiations with them. So this is a brand new owner, and he's a dick in negotiating everyone's contract. He's a fucking asshole. How. Yeah. And all the players are feeling angry and disrespected. He stops giving it. So everyone gets an advance. It's like, we'll sign for $3,000 for the year and I'll give you $1,000 up front. But now he's like, I'm not doing that.
He's not giving them the rest.
No advance money.
Okay.
And then he starts going into saloons at night and looking for players to see if they're drinking. And then he would find them on the spot. On the spot, he'd be like, you find $25. So obviously this happens to Pete a lot.
Yeah.
And then he hires a new manager who's a fucking dick. And team morale is just gone.
Right.
After a few games, the players are like, we're going to go on strike if this shit keeps up. They want the manager fired, basically.
And they want to be able to drink.
They want to be able to drink. But mostly they want the manager fired. And the 6 of them go on strike, and he does get fired. But then, they keep playing, but they're awful. They don't want to be playing for this guy. They lose 21-2 to Brooklyn.
Jesus.
The Courier-Journal, quote, Louisville attempted to play against Brooklyn. The details are too horrible to mention.
Tough.
So Pete's not good. A paper said it looked like his playing days are over.
Okay.
As the team lost more, the owner starts fining the players more and more. And he's using the fines to cover payroll.
I was just going to say, it's like,
here's my money.
It's definitely a good tactic to be like, I'm taking your contract back.
Yeah, right. And the fines are getting higher and they're getting random. He fined Pete and 2 players for arguing with each other.
Yeah, no more fighting. No more talking in general. That's $50 each.
He fined them for making errors.
You guys are supposed to be playing well. That's a fine.
And then after they lost the game, Pete threw his bat in the river and he fined him
$100 right there.
That's a river fee. $100.
That's a river fee right there. What are you kidding?
Got nothing to do with him. So now the players are threatening to go on strike over the fines, and the league gets involved because it's crazy. Like, this is crazy. And other team owners, are like, okay, the league office will mediate all this shit. Just keep playing. So they do, but they haven't been paid in a month now. And they have a 26-game losing streak.
Oh my God.
And in that, he keeps finding him. So to all the fans, the new owner is just a crazy villain.
Yeah,
just a villain. And at the end of the losing streak, they go to get their paychecks, and only 2 get paid. Very small amounts.
I love
like
the idea that he's like, all right, we can pay him, and that's it.
That's right. He pays 2 players. The rest are told they owe the team money.
As a matter of fact, you're lucky we didn't give you bills. 2 of them got paid. Being an owner is not that hard. It's really quite fun when you think about it the way I do.
You guys play baseball for me, and then you give me a couple $100.
All right, look, you guys made a lot of errors, so we'll call it a wash.
Pete owed the team the most, $325.
It's crazy.
But Pete is only upset about $1. Quote, that is $1. That is for a bat that was stolen from me at McKeesport. I have bought all my sticks this season. At McKeesport, someone stole one of the bats out of my bag, and Davidson has charged me $1.
It's amazing to only take issue with that after all of this. Now, hold on. This is bullshit.
The other ones were probably all for drinking. And he's like,
that bat was stolen. Okay, sure.
So now, and we covered the players union. So the players union has just been formed.
Okay, it's bad
and
news.
So they create a Louisville chapter. The players. Now, the owner runs out of money, and he has to just turn the team over to the league on July 2nd. And at that point, the players have been borrowing money from opposing players and selling their belongings just to eat.
We don't have balls anymore. It's like, can you imagine a time where like the rich guy can't pay for what he thought he was going to and eventually can't be bailed out, so just goes with nothing?
Can't.
Strange.
Can't.
And then it all falls apart.
So they find a new buyer for the team. The new owners are nice and they pay all the back pay that they didn't have to.
Okay.
As for Pete, he is hurt for a week and then he just kind of disappears and then shows up after 11 days and says he was just at home with his mom.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then he doesn't hit well in August and they cut him.
Okay.
They're very bad without him. They finished this season 27 wins and 111 losses.
Fuck.
It's still one of the worst seasons of all time in baseball. People would talk about this season for years. Pete hit his worst ever, 256.
Still.
Well, today that would be a good hitter, but
yeah.
A new team, the Cleveland Infants, signed Pete. Go ahead.
Why? When we had to change the name, did we not just go away from Indians to infants? Because you're a bunch of little crybabies who had to change your name because you're little weepies. It took you so long because you're a bunch of little toddlers. All right. Something that's going to instill fear in the other team. We're the Cleveland Infants.
Well, they're part of the new Players League, which we talked about in the union one. So the Brotherhood of Players created their own league, union-based league.
We're
and they
the Brooklyn babies with poopy diapers.
They got financial backers, but to treat the players better, basically. We're the little people.
We're the Dallas Diarrheas.
He got paid $3,000.
Okay.
But it's in his contract he can't drink.
This is just, that's what, if you're in charge, that is what you do. You go, we'll give you all the money you want. You just can't drink for the whole season.
Drink. Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a poison pill.
Well, Pete said he'd been drinking Kentucky Dry for 10 years, so he could take one off.
I don't think that's how
that
alcoholism works.
No,
I don't think it does. No,
it makes sense, Gareth.
It
Think
doesn't
about
because
it.
it's actually
take one
that's
off.
not how.
You put 10 in.
Anything that tells you he's more addicted than
easy to take one off because you put 10 in.
I don't think it's the way that it actually.
That's
works.
literally how drinking works.
I'm pretty sure it's wrong.
He actually asked for that to be in the contract because he thought it would stop him from drinking.
Yeah, that's like that. What was that? There's like, isn't there that app where it's like you bet on yourself to like lose weight? It's like some crazy tiered thing where it's where it's like I can't remember what it is. It's something like that. It's good though. It shows you were in a good spot.
It sounds great. One of the main investors in the Infants is one of his childhood buddies also. So Pete says he has been freed from, quote, baseball bondage, and he promises that he will start sliding.
Okay.
he starts the season on fire. And people are like, why did Louisville let this guy go? But the effects of the mastoiditis are getting worse.
His legs fell off yesterday.
He misses 4 games in June. Heat makes it worse. So he's, you're out in the sun all the time. It get worse.
Well, he's looking into it.
This ballpark has trees in left field,
which is fine to picture.
Well, in one game, so they're apple trees. So
of course, you don't need apples. To tell me that they're fruit-bearing trees.
So there's apples on the ground in the outfield. So one game he hit a ball, and the center fielder picked up an apple, threw it in to trick him, and then he stopped at second thinking the ball was there, but it was an apple. So the guy held him to a double.
What year did we pass the apple rules in the game? All right, guys, you had your fun. No more tossing apples, making it look like baseballs. Jesus Christ.
Okay, so there's trees out there.
Imagine playing under an apple tree.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening. I mean, the ball would go through the tree sometime, you would think.
That's just crazy.
So there's trees, which means shade. And the shade with the way the sun was at that time of year is deep in the field. So he would play too deep in the outfield, and the coach would be like, come in a little. And he'd just keep going back into the shade.
That's nice. It's way cooler.
One hot day in the middle of the game, he calls timeout, and he runs in from the outfield, and he runs into the dugout, and he goes over to a water cooler, and he pulls out a wet cabbage leaf and puts it under his hat, and then runs back out into the field.
Okay. All right. It's just, okay. I don't know how much. We got to be done here, right? I mean, what are we doing anymore? What are we doing? He's doing cabbage head stuff? He calls timeout. So it's like emergency. He's like, man, I thought I'd be able to get through it without the cabbage head.
He did make it to the 8th inning. So,
oh my God.
And then after the game, reporters asked him about it.
The water tastes like shit. Guys, stop putting your cabbage in the water.
After the game, reporters asked him about it. And Pete said, quote, there is nothing like a cabbage leaf for the head and lamps. And that's right.
This is just, it's a lot of stuff. Like, reporters must have been like, bring an extra pen. This guy's real good. Oh my God, the lamps. It's good for your head. It's good for your eyes.
So Pete stays mostly sober. He started going to temperance meetings. Now, here's the hard part. Teammates and fans are always trying to get him to drink because they want to drink with the drunk guy.
Right.
Right? It's his reputation. He told a reporter, quote, I never knew what it was to go to bed sober until the 14th of last August. I have better sleep, have an awful appetite, can hit the ball harder and more often than ever. And when salary day comes, I have more to my credit than I ever had before. A player cannot drink beer and play ball.
It's hard to not picture this being done without cabbage on his head. Like, look, I've had a breakthrough. Being an athlete is difficult.
And then he put cabbage on his head and just 2 cartons of buttermilk on his eyes.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to put cabbage on my head and drown my eyes in buttermilk.
So he has Pete, the whole country is now writing about his amazing season. Pete, quote, I've been the best batter and fielder in the country for 10 years, but I didn't know it till this season. He's very attached to the bat that he's using this season. It's one he had made. In a late season important game against New York, some of the fans of the opposing team hide his bat.
This is not okay.
And Pete refuses to hit. And so the game stops.
Also not okay. And also strange. So nobody's in the zone of doing anything proper?
The game's not going to start.
Uh-huh.
And finally the fans give the bat back to Pete, who just won't hit without it.
Wild.
That year he wins another batting title. It's his 3rd. Pete credited his custom-made bat, and then it was stolen after his last at-bat of the season, right off the field near the bench. Someone just took it. The team sucked. 7th place, Louisville. Louisville wins the World Series. So the teams that he's
that's tough.
Yeah. After the season, Pete told people, he gets to the train station, he tells these people in Louisville that the press had mistreated him and the fans didn't give him enough respect. So he's talking shit about even though he was the drunk guy, whatever.
Yeah, he's crying like an infant would.
Now, the three leagues have basically destroyed each other. And then the PL is folded into the NL, and the AA is still there, but it's barely hanging on. And the next year, Pete signs with Pittsburgh. And now Louisville fans are pissed because they're like, well, he'll come back to us after his good season. The Owensboro Messenger, quote, the whole state will, of course, sympathize with Louisville in the loss of her beloved Pete Browning, the drunken bum whom the baseball idiots of that town slobber over so disgustingly.
Wow. Unbiasedly yours.
So going into the next season, the mastoiditis causing him problems starting in preseason. The first week of the season, he shaves his eyelashes off. Quote, quote,
no.
So they won't obstruct my lamps. Now that works.
He really.
That's.
Listen, I'm not saying that you can't live a life without him, but they're guardian. They're there to help you. God, his optometrist was like, "Please stop going rogue. You need those." Goes into the barber, just a little off the sides, leave the mustache, obviously, and then lose the lashes.
Yeah, no, don't touch the gum.
Leave the gum. Obviously, that's good to go, but the lashes got to go.
Could you put some, take out the lashes and put a little bubblicious in the...
Is it possible to just have gum eyes?
So Pittsburgh is terrible. It's a terrible team. They're worst in the league. They're tied for worst in the league.
This lamps fetish of his is really not helped.
Yeah, he gets released.
Okay.
4 days later, he signs with Cincinnati, who are the other worst team in the league.
Okay.
So there's another great hitter on the team who has sticky fingers when it comes to bats. So Pete padlocks his locker.
That's just fucking strange.
But he stays sober. It's a struggle, but he stays sober.
Okay.
A reporter, quote, fully 50 times I have seen him surrounded by a crowd of half-inebriated sportsmen laughing at him sarcastically and begging him to come to the bar.
And he's just holding his bat.
So sobriety for him is like, sounds like way harder than a lot of people.
Well, I think we've talked about it. I think there is something when you try to make lifestyle changes that benefit you, your old friends are like, quit.
Yeah, so that's why a lot of people talk shit about Alcoholics Anonymous, but you get to go find people who will help you stay sober. So if you think it's like a bad thing, you don't get what the fuck it is. That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So he stayed sober, and he hits well when he's sober. He's hitting well. So he's on pace to win the batting title. He's coming up on a guy. He's starting to hit better. And then someone throws a pitch at him and he puts up his hand to stop it, breaks his hand.
Normally that works.
Yeah, you would think so. But so he doesn't win the title. After the season, the AA folds. So that leaves just the National League.
Okay.
And he signs with Louisville again.
Okay, he's back.
But he starts out not hitting well. He said his head was stopped up.
Yeah. Well, it's full of buttermilk.
Quote, when you're stopped up, your lamps ain't right.
Yep, absolutely. Again, no need to consult any medical person.
That makes sense.
No, you've got a stopped up head. It's like a drain. It's clogged.
The team released him.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And he signs back with Cincinnati. His hitting comes back to form, but his fielding is, well, it's a little bit odd, Gareth. He stopped getting ground balls with his glove.
Dave, I just want to be clear that that's a tough start.
He's letting them hit his feet and shins.
So he's just a hockey goalie in his mind?
And this, for people watching, is a spectacular lack of defensive effort that really no one has ever seen before.
It's not a technique that you've ever seen replicated. I don't know a lot about baseball, but I know nobody's ever treated their legs as the first line of defense. It would be an insane move.
And then in the middle of July, he's sick for 2 days, and the team cuts him. Which Pete is shocked because he is hitting the shit out of the ball.
Yeah, Pete, it's just you stopped using your glove.
Yeah, there's the whole kicking the ball thing that's weird for us.
You trying to stop everything with your legs has really not helped you. You won't slide, but you'll take every ball to the knee.
And then he signs with Cincinnati again.
Okay.
Because the player who they had signed to replace him was too much of a drunk.
Okay.
So they brought in Pete.
Perfect.
His second game back, Pete is removed from the game due to vertigo. Now, the writer of this really good book, Tim Newby, the original Louisville Slugger, he thinks that that's because he has vertigo.
Yeah.
And that's why he's not bending down to get at the ball. That's why he's like hit his shins.
Okay.
Because he thinks like that's what's fucking him up, which totally makes sense, right?
Because here's why it makes sense. There's no other justification.
Yeah, there really isn't.
To just be like, my legs will do it.
Yeah. So he gets removed for vertigo, and that season he hits 292. So decent. It's good. That's good.
Yeah.
No teams try to sign him for the next season, and he announces his retirement on March 25th, 1893, and says he wants to open a billiard saloon.
Okay.
But when teams come to town, he keeps hanging around with the manager, hoping he'll get signed.
Okay.
On May 26th, Louisville signs him, and he replaces the player that he replaced in Cincinnati, the drunk guy.
That guy's really doing him favors.
Who was again released for excessive drinking.
Yeah.
This was the guy.
This guy could really use Pete.
I think we talked about this guy in the Vanderhey episode. He's the guy who kept beers outside the outfield fence.
Near the apple trees.
Yes. So he plays well for Cincinnati. For Louisville, I mean. The team's really bad, though, as usual. Louisville sucks. But he's clearly lost his step now. The mastoiditis is causing a lot more pain. He misses a game in July due to, quote, violent pains in his head.
At least he's addressing the words that he explains how he's feeling.
Yeah. And then another 4 games he misses with vertigo. But at the end of July, he is hitting over 400.
Oh, shit. He's
back. Amazing average. And then they cut him.
Did the announcer ever go, oh, that ball's vertigo, go, that ball's vertigone?
You wanted to say that so bad, you ignored what I said, which is very important. And
what I said
it was for a really bad pun that you should be ashamed of.
No. First of all, no. No.
You're like Pete. You can't feel shame.
Don't compare me to Pete. First of all,
you should be weeping.
I don't know where you're going with this.
So Pete is cut, hitting over 400.
Okay. Why? Just because?
No reasons given.
So he's vertigone.
And he storms out of the clubhouse. The team is basically managed by idiots who just make bananas decisions. So who knows why they did it? Maybe to save money. So he just now drops out of the public eye at that point. And at the end of the season, the Courier-Journal wrote that Pete was, quote, mashing the pretty girls on 4th Avenue after the matinees. That's all right. It's all right.
So he's
mashing means making out, I think. I don't think it means. Yeah, he's not like grabbing him. Yeah, he's not like. I don't think it's bad. So he's still living with his mom anyway.
Awesome. The women love that.
Yeah. So he signs with Allentown, which is a minor league team in Pennsylvania, owned by a childhood friend, and it is managed by this really hard drinking guy named Mike King Kelly. Kelly was once asked to be drank while playing, and he said, quote, it depends on the length of the game.
That's true.
Yes.
I think there's a requirement. If it goes too long, you have to.
Mike Kelly would die at 36 from drinking.
Which is a full life back then. People are probably astounded by that number. That was a full life.
So for 2 months, Pete is the best player on the team, and then again randomly released. And then he signs on with a team in Georgetown, Kentucky. And then he gets signed by Brooklyn to play the last 2 games of the season, which would be in Louisville, where fans. So it's like a say goodbye to the fans kind of thing.
Yeah,
so
right.
Loud cheering, and they're all very happy. He gets 2 hits. They're the final 2 hits of his career. And he played on some amateur local teams, but that's about it. He was trying to catch on for a while, but it was over. So Pete now has a basement full of bats, and he could tell you what he had done with each one. So people would come over and he'd be like, that one was the double in Louisville on July, whatever. And he would just go through each bat and tell you every single thing that had happened with each bat. He'd give people tours. He tried to talk about his glory days to anyone.
Yeah,
who would listen
the
at
bat
this
thing,
point.
I think you'd be like, all right, cool, I'm good.
Well, it would be cool for like the first 4, you'd point and go that one. And then after that, it's another 200 bats. And you're like,
Yeah, right.
I don't have
all
5
this time.
hours. Yeah. He opens a billiards hall named the Gladiator.
Nice.
But without baseball, he's just lost. He runs for city councilman again and loses.
I will keep the cigar in my mouth no matter what a drunk does.
Louisville drops out of the National League in 1899. I think they're the last team to lose a baseball team and not have it replaced until Montreal in like 2004 or whatever that was.
Quite a run.
Yeah. He lived comfortably off money he made from playing baseball, but he still just wants to play. He made it known in 1900 that he would play for any team as a, quote, reserve slugger. So just like a pinch hitter, a guy who comes in at the end to try to hit a home run. He's living a sad, lonely life. In 1905, he was hospitalized for insanity, even though he is not a danger to anyone or himself. It turns out he just had an abscess on his brain, but they were like, yeah, he's nuts.
You mean it was all clogged up?
Yeah, he's clogged. He had the clogs.
The clog.
They just had to poke the lamps.
He's just a little lamp, yeah.
So they drain the abscess or whatever they do to it. And then once it was resolved, he was discharged, but his health deteriorated after that. He had mastoid surgery, and then he had a breast tumor, and he died surrounded by his family on March 16th, 1907. There's a bunch of not true stories about Pete, which you don't need to do.
Heard some of them.
Well, which you don't need to do based on what I just read you. You don't need to make them up.
Fully a life of, this is Rube Jr.
Yeah. He's not in the Hall of Fame, which he should be because of the hitting. Much
Why
like Pete Rose and Barry. Well, Pete Rose and Barry Bonds aren't. Also, like the Hall is fucking. So the Hall of Fame.
Well, to be fair, they couldn't fit Barry Bonds' bust head in the Hall of Fame.
But the Hall of Fame is not like, how good of a person are you? Because if you're a good person, shitloads of people wouldn't be in there. Or
is Ty Cobb in the Hall of Fame?
I think he is. Yeah, he's got to be in it. But like, it doesn't matter. You gambled, so you fucking did. Everyone was doing steroids. Like, it's just like put them all in because it's about how they played the game.
Right.
And this guy should be in the Hall of Fame simply for ordering the first bat. That then led to guys making bats.
As well as being the first guy to stop balls with his legs.
I mean, yeah. But so you lead the league in batting 3 years. You're a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
So he's not in the Hall of Fame. Anyway, this is based on the original Louisville Slugger, The Life and Times of Forgotten Baseball Legend Tim Browning by Tim Newby, and Requiem for a Gladiator Pete Browning by Philip von Borries in the Baseball Research Journal.
Wow, that's how you do a life.
I mean, he lived hard, right?
Live hard, and you don't listen to any convention. Like there's no convention that makes you say, "Yeah, all right." You know, I would like putting buttermilk in your eyes, letting ash go on, stopping balls with your legs because of your vertigo.
I mean, there is no whatchamacallit, like
this isn't.
There's no real doctor. There's no real cures for any of that time. So you're really just kind of going with, household cures and shit people say, like or just trying to figure it out and going, well, that Buttermilk feels good,
yeah.
right?
I mean, look, I've never been closer to buttermilking my eyes, if that's what you're asking.
I should show you a picture of him.
Oh yeah, let's have a look.
Well,
at this.
look it up. Look up Pete Browning baseball, and you'll see a picture. And he really is a goofy looking dude. Yeah, but he should be.
Whoa. He looks like Anthony Jeselnik could play him if they had great makeup. Holy
Except those ears.
crikey.
Those ears are kind of crazy.
Oh yeah, the ears are huge. I didn't even notice the ears. Wow, he looks like a Daniel Day-Lewis character.
Yeah, he does. He really does. Yeah.
Wow, you weren't kidding. That mustache is no fucking joke. Those ears are enormous. I'm more impressed that they had baseball cards back then.
Yeah. Yeah, right?
Look at him throwing, too.
I think if you're the best hitter of a decade, you should be in the Hall of Fame, no matter what the decade is.
I think if you put gum as your eyebrows, you should be a councilman.
And I can't believe a Canadian led the league in hitting, but whatever. We'll get over that.
Yeah. Wow, this guy's awesome looking.
Yeah.
Wow. I recommend everyone Google that. That was worth it. All right. Well, there you go. A little more normal stuff.
Yeah.
Seems like we don't really run out of these people. It's strange. Strange how this show works, isn't it?
All right. Carry on. It's all fine.
Yeah, everything's fine. By the way, we did this during the Super Bowl, and it's by far a much better sports story than what we would be on right now.
Yeah, there's no reason to watch that. Toodles.
Take care.